giving the most high praise to Allah and the highest honors to His Prophet Noble Drawing. Islam, I have a quick measure today. I'll just be drawing from chapter 21. And this is actually a requested measure a while ago. So, praise Allah. And I'll start at verse 1 when everyone gets there. Say Islam.
Islam.
And that's for in Roman numerals it's XXI. It's 21. And that's the marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. So in reading this, I'm going to relate it to, since we're talking about civic engagement and being civically active and politically active, I'm going to relate it to our roles as members of society and society as a whole. And verse 1, it says, "Give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form, and the beauty, like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its bloom is withered. In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze upon thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks, hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions." So relating this to the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have a lot of people that come in and think that this is the next big thing that I'm going to join. Like, you're just going to join the temple and then, basically just, like this is a cool thing to be a part of. Just like we have other people that join other organizations. We join the Nation of Islam because they look upright and they look like they're securing things, but we don't join understanding that once we join these organizations, we have a duty as well. So we have to sit back and we have to learn the truth of these organizations. We have to learn what these organizations are put in place to teach us, and then that'll add beauty to our form, basically. "Remember thou art made man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passions. The end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose ends, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with the tenderness of recompense, and recompense his care with soft endearments." So when proclaiming as a Moorish American, our duty is to our people, not just here as Moorish Americans, but to our brothers and sisters of the Asiatic nations out in the world, those that are still calling themselves Black, Negro, colored, African American, and whatever other names we choose to call ourselves. Our duty is to them. Our duty is to uplift fallen humanity as a whole. So when people come to us and they say, what are the Moors going to do about this situation, or what did the Moors do about this particular thing? Yes, we do have an obligation to them, but we're not there. We're there for them, to teach them information, to bring them into the temple, to resurrect themselves. We have to save ourselves. "Who is she that winneth the heart of man, and subdueth him to love, and reigneth in his breast? Lo, yonder she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind, and modesty on her cheek. Her hand seeketh employment, her foot delighteth not in gadding abroad. She is clothed with neatness, she is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head." So this is very important when we go out. When we go out into the world, we have to carry ourselves in a certain way. I give honors to this brother here. I've seen you twice, and both times you wore your fez. You're dressed up. You didn't come in with jeans on. We have all kind of people coming here with fezzes and jeans on. Fezzes and jeans don't go together. You carry yourself in a certain manner to represent the prophet. You wouldn't see the prophet in his fez and a t-shirt. So we have to carry ourselves in a certain way. Same thing for the sisters. When we carry ourselves, we wear our turbans, or we wear our hijabs, or we wear our headdresses, and we wear our buttons. We have to carry ourselves in a certain way. We have to communicate with people in a certain way. We're not acting on our own accord. We're now acting on behalf of the Moorish Science Temple of America, whether you like it or not. You know, I've had several times where people will see me and at first glance they'll say, oh, Assalamu alaikum. And then they'll look closer at my button and say, oh, Islam. So they know that you're representing the Prophet. They know that there's something that distinguishes you, and that's that nationality. On her tongue dwelleth music, the sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words. In her answers are the mildness of truth. And I'll stop right there. With that, we have to, like I said last week, look at the content of our conversation. When we're speaking to people, it's easy to get dragged down into the content of, you know, what's going on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and if that's, I don't know if that show's still on, but shows like that, like, it's easy to get dragged down into the carnal plane, but we have to raise, even if you're around people that are speaking about that, if you work or you go to school with people that are speaking about these things, it's your duty as a Moorish American Muslim to raise the vibration of their conversation. It's your duty. Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward. So oftentimes we get caught up not wanting to submit and obey certain instructions from our Prophet, and we end up finding ourselves still stuck in the same repetitive cycle over and over again. But that submission and obedience is an important piece, and if we need to take the time to study that. And in order to submit and to obey the instructions of our Prophet, we have to know the instructions of our Prophet. All of these are instructions from our Prophet. Once you get past chapter 21, they start off with the holy instructions and the divine instructions from our Prophet. Before her steps walketh prudence. She's careful with the actions that she takes. Or as a citizen, we're supposed to be careful with the actions that we take. Or as a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're supposed to be careful with the actions that we take. And virtue attendeth at her right hand. Her eye speaketh softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth on her brow. So when people come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, people think that we're just supposed to be completely passive and diplomatic. You are supposed to practice diplomacy, but understand that in your diplomacy, you still have that scepter of power at your right hand, because you have certain information. You have certain keys to civilization, and with those keys, you're supposed to handle those with care. When you have more responsibility, you have to, like it says, walk with prudence, or be careful in your actions, because people are looking to you. It's like children. They're going to look to you and do, like, they're going to say, okay, well, the adults do this. And if, let's say you smoke cigarettes or something, I hate to bring it down to the carnal level, but let's say you smoke cigarettes, and they see, okay, well, my dad or my mother smokes cigarettes, so it must be okay to smoke marijuana. You know, they're going to take it a step further than what you're doing. They're always going to take it a step further. So if you're a Moorish American and you're the highest standard of civilization and what civilization is, the profane are going to say, okay, well, I'm not in the temple, so I could do this. I could do a little bit more than what the Moors in the temple are doing. You know, so we have to be the highest standard of civilization and work daily to combat our vices. And remember that that scepter sitteth on our brow, so that's our facial expression. Your look, the Prophet says there's a power in the eye. Your look should demand a certain respect, a certain reverence. You should be able to, if you see somebody acting, you know, crazy or doing something in the street, they should want to uplift themselves at least while you're walking past. If no more than that. The tongue of the lascivious is dumb in her presence. The awe of her virtue keepeth him silent. And the lascivious is the unprincipled or the profane, the ones that are outside of the temple. And so that's them gathering themselves and uplifting themselves, even if it's just for that second that you're walking past. When scandal is busy and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature openeth not her mouth, the finger of silence resteth on her lips. And that's a difficult one for a lot of us. Even, as you grow and develop, it's so easy to slip back into he said and she said, especially I guess for the sisters and also for the brothers as well. But we have to let our conversation, the content of our conversation, be about charity and good nature. And if we don't have anything, like your mother said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore she suspected no evil of others. Happy were the man that should make her his wife, or happy is the society that he belongs to. So in this case, we're supposed to be bringing the arts and the sciences and the mathematics and all of these things into our society. And with that, we're supposed to be as members of that society, we're supposed to be able to contribute all of the things that we may bring. Like the brother Adar, you drive trucks, you know about those trucks. So with that, we know that we don't have to worry about that thing. We're supposed to receive that benefit, and we're supposed to come with and bring benefits to you as well. So happy is the society that that particular person belongs to. Happy is the child that should call her mother, or happy are the dependents of those on those particular sciences and those degrees that that member brings into the society. She presideth in the house, and there is peace. She commandeth with judgment, and is obeyed. She ariseth in the morning. She considereth her affairs, and appointeth every one to their proper business. So this is an important one. She arises in the morning. She considereth her affairs. Like our Grand Governor says, there are people working, I'll try to say it correctly, there are people working at least 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, to achieve their mission. We should be doing the same. We should be, even if we don't have government offices right now, we should still be arising in the morning and considering what we need to do to progress the Moorish Science Temple of America in our day-to-day actions. And so this combats that inconstancy that happens when you don't get up and you stay in bed, or you just relax and just say, oh, I'm not going to do anything today. What do they say? An idle mind is a devil's workshop. So you have to be focused on more science at all times and relate it to the things that you do. I'm not sure, what do you do, brother? What's your profession?
I'm a musician.
A musician. So in everything that you put into your music, relate it to more science. Do what you love, but bring it back to your own nationality, to your own nation. The care of her family is her whole delight. To that alone she applieth her study, and elegance with frugality is seen in her mansions. So this is, the care of her family is her whole delight, her entire delight. That's that race pride. I'm going to look out for humanity as a whole, but I'm going to support my own first. The other nations know this. The Chinese know this. The Mexicans, they know this. The Jewish people, they know this. Those communities, they know this. And we're the only ones that everything gets thrown into our fold. We're supposed to, take on everybody else's burden. But we have to remember, like our honorable forerunner said, to have that race pride and honor ourselves first. The prudence of her management is an honor to her husband. That's our economy. We're supposed to be wise in government and allocate whatever funds or allocate whatever resources comes into the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're supposed to allocate that to the benefit of our members first, and then to all of humanity. He heareth her praise with secret delight. She informeth the minds of her children with wisdom. She fashioneth their manners from the examples of her own goodness. So, as leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and even as just Moorish American members in general, when we go out into society, we can't say, this is how you're supposed to act, but not walk this act that we're saying. We have to act that out. We have to present them with our own goodness, the goodness that Prophet Noble Ali reinstilled in us as Moorish Americans. So it's not enough just to say it. We have to become that light. The words of her mouth is the law of their use, speaking of her children. The motion of her eye commanded their obedience. She speaketh, and the servants fly. She pointeth, and the thing is done. For the law of love is in their hearts, and her kindness addeth wings to their feet. Islam. So when we instruct people to proclaim their nationality, to give up that sacrifice, that those titles that allude to slavery, Negro, black, colored, African American, everything else that we cling to, we have to do it with love. We have to know that we're removing something that people may think is a sincere part of them. Well, I've been black since I was born, or Negroes on my birth certificate. You have to come to them with love, or else they're not going to give it up. It has to be, and that's that purity that has to pave the way. You have to know that you're not telling them this for your own ego. I'm not telling you that you're not Negro, black, and colored, or African American so that I can look smart, so that I can look like I know more than what you know. I'm telling you this because I honestly, sincerely want to help you change your condition. In prosperity, she is not puffed up. In adversity, she healeth the wounds of misfortune with patience. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments. So as a society, or even as a Moorish American individual, if that's a thing, as a Moorish American, you're going to have a lot of people, once you truly harness that light, you're going to have a lot of people just coming up to you out of nowhere. Well, sister, you know, my bills are due, my children are acting up, I just don't know what to do. You're going to have that. People are going to come to you, and you have to sit down and go through what your prophet has taught you. You have to teach them not from your own general opinion, but what your prophet brought you. You know, so it should be their cares, the cares of the world should be alleviated by the counsels of Moorish Americans. And as we grow, we should be able to come together and form councils specifically for that. To help, like we go out to feed the hungry, we should be able to provide them with homes and food and help uplift them to where they can be productive members of society as well. He putteth, I'm going to read the whole verse again. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments. He putteth his heart in her bosom and receiveth comfort. Happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy is the child that called her mother. Islam. And that is the close of that. And I just want us to, like I said last week, just be mindful of the things that we're thinking. Be mindful of the thoughts that we're thinking. Like the brother chairman said, purity is not equivalent with perfection. Purity is more so being unmixed, being constant, being, like the brother said, immutable. Having that consistent thought that everything that I do, I'm Moorish American. And so everything that I do, the brother Raphael sent me a message this week saying that I told him something about the videos, you know, being good enough because he wants to get a camcorder. And I said, they're good enough. And he said, well, we're Moorish Americans. Enough is not good enough.
Praise
it has to be better. So have that mindset with everything that you do, that no matter what is not good enough, it can be better because we are Moorish Americans. And hold yourself to that standard at all times, even when you're alone. Hold yourself to that standard. Even in your own mind, your thoughts. Should I be thinking these thoughts as a Moorish American? And with that, I will leave you as I came. In peace. Islam.
Islam.